Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm doing an unboxing and rambling with Arkeis. My longest, most outstanding Kickstarter game, closing in on nearly 4 years. I think 3 months and 3 years and 8 months if I'm not mistaken. This has been quite some time. It's been around for a while. I have been waiting for this game for a very, very long time. Coming to you from Uncommon Games, coming to you designed by Antoine Bazar, currently about Rulebook, Mont Blanc, and Theo Rivera. This is a dungeon-crawling legacy or campaign game that I don't remember all the details of because it's been nearly 4 years. We're going to go ahead and dive into it. We'll figure it all out. Of course, coffee and knife all ready to go over here. This is an unboxing and rambling, although first, a word from our sponsor. Our sponsor of these unboxing videos is OneSharpJoe. And I've shown a lot of OneSharpJoe's things in the past, and I'll have a link down below as well to OneSharpJoe's site, so you can take a look at the various things he has to offer. But he has a bunch of things, including these little handy little coasters that you could actually get engraved. And normally I actually wait till like midway through these unboxings because I like putting things into these little coasters when I show them. The little, not coasters, although they actually have cork on the back, so it could be your component tray and card holder, or alternatively you can flip it a different way and it could be your coaster instead, and you have a little setup and network of different things as long as you orient them so that the magnets do line up properly. But you're going to have your little storage over here from OneSharpJoe. We have a bunch of these component holders over here, and he has a bunch of other products as well. I'm going to put this one off to the side, but he has a bunch of other products as well, from various inserts for Marvel Champions, Marvel United, Lord of the Rings, new games constantly being added. I should check what he actually has added most recently, and I'll have a link to the site down below, as well as a coupon code for you to save a little bit on that as well. But these are fun things. OneSharpJoe, he's a big been a sponsor of the show, been a fan of the show for a while, and been a sponsor of the show for the past several months. That's going to be more inserts and luxifications from him. But with that, let's go ahead and push these inserts off to the side and get my knife back, because we're going to be diving into Arkeis. Is it Arkeis or Arkeis? I need to smooth down this this board over here. But let's go ahead and dive into the core box, saving all these little extras for the side for after. We have the threat beneath. We have the jewel of the cult. The jewel of the cult. We have the Sphinx Cometh, as well as a leather bag that we can take a look at. I say leather bag. I don't know if it's actually leather, or I should say a bag over here that you'll put stuff into, I assume, because that's generally what you do with bags. It has a nice little logo on it. It has a beautiful space to put things in. It smells something. I'd say it smells leathery, but I have no idea what leathery smells like. So we're going to put it off to the side. We're going to go ahead and dive into this. As usual, this is an unboxing and rambling. That means if you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. Hope you enjoy your stay here. Past that, I'm going to be going into the game as well as any other things that cross my mind, including the fact that 4 years is a very long time. 4 years is such a long time that we should have a much longer extended conversation around what it means to back crowdfunding projects. I know this is on its side. I'm okay with it, even if it does bother the OCD a bit. But over here, we got a sleeve. Well, ooh, we got a sleeve. Okay, 1 second. I did that wrong. Wrong order of operations. If we have a sleeve, this needs to come off first, where I can admire the back of the box. This over here has a nice, we're going to have to go in different orders. We have a box at the back of the box over here, a different cover over here. All of that looks very fine, looks very nice. And then we're going to take off the cover over here, if I can get my hands onto the side properly. This is a 4-year-old game, and again, this game, I should stop saying 4 years old because it's not fair to them. It is late, but it's not actually 4 years late. It's just closing in on 4 years late. We have our rulebook, we have a sheet over here. Dear explorers, here it is, finally in your hands, your precious treasure, your copy of Arkeis. I'm trying to figure out what to put where. I'm already messing up that box sleeve. I usually don't care about box sleeves that much though, so that shouldn't be a problem. If only you knew how proud and exhausted we are. Proud to offer Uncommon Board Games' most ambitious project so far. What an adventure it's been. We sweat blood and tears, we felt fear, we are sometimes overcome with doubt, it's true, but you are always by our side, present like an oasis in the desert. And for that, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. On the back of this flyer, etc., etc., I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a very nice message. I mean, I have to read, let me skim it. Let me just give me a second to have another sip of coffee and quickly skim to see if there's anything important for you. Alright, nothing in particular that's that important. Past the listing of some exclusive components and things like that. List of Kickstarter exclusive components, so you have all that just, listed here. Then past that with the rulebook. The rulebook, always my favorite part to dive into, because this is when I get a sense of just how much work goes into even getting this game tabled, which is a big factor. Games that have accessible rulebooks get tabled faster. This past Saturday, I think I played like 5 new games, because they all had accessible rulebooks. So completely 5 new to me games. There are times I've spent 3.5 days to learn a new game. That was not this past Saturday. But we have general principles, playing the campaign, choosing characters, all good stuff to read through, nothing overwhelming. Components and stuff, that's all important. Setting up episodes. Now, usually I kind of skip setup when I'm talking about how long a rulebook is, given the nature of this being a more of a campaign experience, and like there's little tuck boxes and all those things, but being more of a campaign experience, I'm going to count the setup as part of this because it's a little bit more involved when you have that experience. So starting on page 6, we go into this, you know, fate tokens, episode structure, explorers turns, more actions, fight actions, support actions, adversaries, explorers abilities. This is usually easy reading, not that complicated, so it doesn't count against the page count, but I'm still going to count it. But it's one of those things that's easier. I usually look for images, iconography, and what's easy reading. This does look like pretty easy reading. It looks like you can play from page 6 to 16 over here is going to be the rules. Once you're on page 17, you go to back at camp, but you can probably read that after. Depends how adventurous you are. Usually I'll save stuff like that for after, but granted, if you know everything going in, you might make different decisions. If you're like, but no, when we go back to camp, depending on the number of ankhs we collected across the episode, that's going to totally change things. So it could help to know that stuff, and honestly, it was only one extra page. Given that it was only one extra page, I think I actually probably would read it. But this has to go somewhere off to the side, and then we have to go ahead and open the camp archives. Now this entire unboxing is spoiler free. So I'm not gonna, this is stuff that I'm not gonna go through because I think it should be like a little spoiler free. There's stuff in there, I don't want to mess it up. I almost tried grabbing the string off this. Like, look at this, there's like string. There's rubber band, I tried grabbing it off. There's no rubber band to grab off, that's crazy. Expedition logbook. Okay, again, I don't want to heavily go into this because this might be spoilers. The nature of this being a campaign or legacy experience means I don't know exactly what's safe or not safe. So in doubt, if in doubt, I will not show you the thing. We still haven't talked about the nature of backing games and crowdfunding. 3.5 years. 3.5 years is a long time. We got Punchboards, we got our little scarabs, our little whatever these tokens are. This might be from the Kickstarter exclusive page. I have to double check that. We have a bunch more Punchboards because, you know, Punchboards and Punchboards over here. So we have all of these over here, your XP tokens, your wounds, it looks like, whatever these are. The same thing on both sides, so just terrifying little screaming heads, all of that stuff. We have more Punchboards over here to go through, or a more Punchboard, and then this is like off kilter. I'll show you it shortly. We have this over here, so more Punchboard tokens. Again, all fun stuff, but don't know enough about the game yet to know exactly what the situation is there. But you can see a little bit. This is a little bit off kilter. Don't know exactly what's underneath it that's having it off kilter, but let's try to dig to the bottom of that. Pun intended, because it's a mystery excavation game. Okay, this is actually bothering me a little bit. We got a bunch of heavy components over here. We have an entire tray of miniatures that we'll definitely be going through. I realize I've been on the top camera for the past like 30 seconds, so I apologize for that. I think I figured out why it was off kilter. One of these lids was slightly off, but let's go through all of this one step at a time. And oh my gosh, how do we do this? How do we do this? We're gonna show you some things, but let's figure this out. Miniatures we can do last. So let's put these down to the side over here. We can do these miniatures last too. Whoops, that should not fall out. But we can do more miniatures last because there's 4 more trays of miniatures that will go over after as well. That's a fun little miniature. I like some of these minis. They are fun minis here. This one over here, what is this? This is not miniatures. These are cards, so we'll leave these out over here, and we'll put this off to the side over there. Then we have these trays over here, which will represent a big part of your dungeon exploring over here. We have a larger tray down here. Oh my gosh, give me a second here to get this out. I think this is like a tray. I think it is. Is this part of the box? Nope, it's a tray. We got a tray over here. Are there things in the tray? Or is it just one single sheet? There's multiple sheets in the tray over here. So these are going to represent a degree of the terrain you're going to be traveling through as you have these different, scenes to go through. I like that, but I think I like this one the most. Let's put that, in fact, if I like this one the most, I probably should put this underneath, put that like so, put this like so, and there you go. You have a little dungeon tray to start exploring through. But then you also have more dungeon trays because in here, and I think again, they probably have the double-sided tokens over here. So again, we have the terrain aspect. And you have your terrain battlefield situation set up in different ways. Something along these lines as far as the pathway to explore. Basically just from visually looking at what's here. We have our little sand, wandering into the center. And you'll have your doorways. I guess I don't actually know. Let's find out if we can have this over here. Because if we go through here, there's going to be these things which look like they could be the doorways between rooms. So over here, this looks like it might be meant to be a doorway between rooms. So if you see this here, this thing, that looks like it'll clip nicely onto here, such that it gives you a pathway between the rooms. And actually, let me show you this on the top camera so you can kind of get a sense of it. Because visually, that's not bad. Like visually, if you have this over here, like you have this secret room like so, and you're walking a character from one room to the next. In fact, let's go ahead and find one of the characters that will be in the game. Let's go ahead and find this here. Let's push this box off to the side. Here's going to be one of your adventure explorers over here. So I don't know his name, but one of your characters you possibly could explore with is going to be here. And now he's in this room, and he's trying to see what to do. And we're going to go ahead and have him navigate through the doorway, where he can magically teleport to the other side, and then slide to the edge because I'm holding it on an angle. That's going to be your kind of a room setup over here, which I like the idea of that. As far as the visual aspect of these is really not bad. We're going to tuck this back in here. There are more stuff to get through shortly. But let's try to be semi-responsible as far as our management of time as we put these back into this little depot over here. So these fit nicely into here, although now they're gone, which makes me slightly sad because I want to show you all the things. What should we show you first? We could show you that. Let's show you that. So, one step at a time, or it's all over the place over here. Let's move this thingamajiggy up on top of the actual box, where it will go back in the pack later. We still have all these other boxes to go through. 4 years late. 3.5 years late. So, when you back a crowdfunding campaign, it is an interesting journey. And the longer the gap between when you back a game till when it arrives, the more interesting that conversation. I just recently did a video for like the top 15 most crowdfunded campaigns of 2022, and I'd have to go look at them, but if I recall correctly, 2, maybe 3 of those games had delivered. I have to double check the list, but like I know Moonraker's delivered, Casting Shadows delivered. I think I covered that rock one, the Deep Rock Galactic. I think that delivered. I'd have to go through the list, but a handful of these top most funded crowdfunding campaigns in 2022 delivered, and sometimes things deliver faster, and that's good. That's a very good thing when you back crowdfunding campaigns. Other times they take a long time, and even a month your life can change. But for sure, in 3.5 years your life can change. You can back something and you could die. That can happen. Not to get too morbid here, but I remember once upon a time there's a person I traded games with who unfortunately passed away during COVID, and he was an avid Kickstarter backer. He backed a lot of things. And it's always interesting to wonder about how many packages will show up after you die of games that you backed. Constant reminders randomly showing up at your doorstep to your loved ones of the life you once had, which is fascinating and morbid at the same time. I'm sorry, I bet when you clicked on this video you didn't anticipate this kind of darkness, but it is here. It could be anything. You could have moved. You could have lost your gaming group. You could have gotten divorced and, change who you play games with. There's a million different things that can happen to you in the longer time span of just backing something and not having it show up for an undetermined amount of time. Now, there's nice things to it. The nice thing is today, out of the blue, or not today, but like 2 days ago, out of the blue, I had Arkeis, a giant Kickstarter backer that I paid for like 3.5 years ago, showed up at my door. That's incredible. That's fun. It's a little gift to myself in the future. It's actually my birthday pretty soon. Nice. So it is my birthday pretty quick, like in 2 weeks it's my birthday. It's nice. So I have a little birthday gift for myself of something that, past Alex paid for. The problem is past Alex paid a lot of money and didn't get anything for it. Future Alex paid nothing and got the game. That is the way Kickstarter works. But it's just interesting to consider what you're backing, how much you need. Your gaming tastes can change. It's a big deal. Your gaming tastes can change when you back things. You can back a game and then be like, you know what? I backed this game when I wanted a legacy campaign dungeon crawler. And 3.5 years have passed, and I now have 14 legacy games, 27 campaign games, and 300 dungeon crawlers, and I just don't need this in my collection. Make no mistake, I'm still excited to play Arkeis. I think it looks accessible while also giving you a lot of gameplay, so definitely very excited for it. Do not mistake my concern that your tastes can change to me saying that they have changed. I'm still interested in the game. Just that mindfulness around the future, and when you back something, and anything that could go wrong, or just delays in general, that's something to be careful of. Over here, we have our character boards, Frank Gaspard, we have Rebecca Clark, we have Eleanor Mansard, we have Riat Ajib, and then we have Robert Pierce, who I believe was the person who wandered around with that little exploring board over here. We have young Robert Pierce over here. That seems like young Indiana Jones. Young Robert Pierce looks like Indiana Jones. You ever watch Young Indiana Jones? Oh, what's on the back of these? Okay, now I'm confused. On the back of Robert Pierce, we have young Robert Pierce. On the back of these characters, we have, like, monsters. So we have, this guy actually looks like a monster to begin with. But then these guys, like, they turn into, like, Guardian Sekhmet over here. This is where I don't know enough about the gameplay for me to understand what's happening, but I'm intrigued. But Young Indiana Jones. I don't know if you ever watched that series, but it was a fun series. I enjoyed it. We have the adventurer's hat. Okay, this is, oh, come on. We have Indiana Jones over here with his adventurer's hat. He liked that hat. In fact, in Young Indiana Jones, more so than anything, he liked that hat. Do not shuffle this pile. I'm not touching this card. We're going to put that back. We could go ahead and open this pile over here, because this does not say don't open it. And anything in a legacy game that doesn't say don't open, I mean, at this point, it's best practice, I think. If you have a legacy game, you need to have a card in front and the back of the pack saying, please do not open. This is the front. This is the back. Keep these cards in order, or whatever it is, whatever instructions you need to be on the cards. If they rely on you to be the rulebook to know what to and not to open, that would be a huge mistake. Ultimately, I'm the one who paid the price, but that would be a huge mistake for any decent game production. Although that said, life is hard. Life is complicated. It's very easy to be critical of the things that people do wrong. It's much harder to actually be involved with it yourself. So like, it's very easy to sit there and say, how could there be like a typo in this rulebook? Why can't you proofread it? Things go through a lot of degrees of proofreading, and suddenly before you know it, you've sent the game over, you sent the rules over to 14 people, they've all read through it, you made the additions. I remember Stonemaier Games had an interesting thing about a rulebook mistake that they missed, where they basically had people proofread the typos and all that, and then they made one small text change. The problem is they did a find and replace with it, and the find and replace messed up after the proofreading, and so a single mistake was like all over the place because of one small step out of the process. It can happen, unfortunately. Just be glad it's not happening to you. The truth is, it is happening to you, just not in board games. In your day-to-day life, it's happening all the time. It's just the impact is not as permanent, generally. Unless you're the person that ordered 5 crates of bananas to my work. Then the impact is, well, at my work. Anyways, we have the scarab over here. This is going to be, are we as soon as we could be? We could. Okay, here we go. Scarab over here, mechanical, starter turn effect, to take 1 injury for each scarab in your zone. So we have different starter turn effects on different scarabs, so I like that. I don't know how these work, but the idea of having random scarab effects show up, I like that. We have scorpions over here, we have a knot of snakes, we have a zealot, we have a naga over here, we have tomb robbers, we have a golem, we have a priestess over here, we have a mummy. So we have different cards, different sets of cards, which I guess are going to reuse different miniatures. So you have the miniatures being reused with a ton of card variety, which is a nice mix of variety from the cards, but also not overusing too many miniatures. So I like these cards over here. I don't know how they operate. I'm eager to dive into this game. I'm eager to see how it plays. We have a bunch of these boxes over here, but these all seem empty from touching them so far. Yeah, I haven't touched them all, but the 3 I've touched definitely seem empty. This one is definitely empty. The other 3 might not be empty, but in which case, I will find myself surprised. We have these dice over here, which I'm assuming are going to be replaced by the dice that are slightly fancier. Let's go ahead and show you the upgraded dice over here. So here we got the dice for the game. This is the basic dice for the game. And then over here in this OneSharpJoe insert, we have these dice, which are going to be the replacement dice for the game, I assume, which, interesting enough, I think these have a much higher contrast. These have a little more nuance. I don't know if I particularly care either way. I probably paid extra for these. I don't know if I feel like they're worth it. They're more thematic, but like, they're okay. They do the job. I'm happy to have them. I'll dump them in here. We'll take our coins as well. I probably should show you these coins. I didn't properly show you these earlier. Here we go. Here's your coins. Your Egyptian coins over here. They're fine. They're definitely nice as far as the texture and the look to them. A little on the lighter weight side as far as the individual heft of the coins, but still coins I'm happy to have. That's going to be this box here, which means now we need to look through these cards here and see what we got. We got mostly trauma. And then the cards also say trauma as well. So we have, that was a joke, by the way. I was making a joke that I have mostly trauma, and the cards also say trauma, but then I realized I did it so quickly that you may think I just misspoke, so now I'm explaining the joke, which takes away from it, but it is what it is. Anyways, we have these cards over here, these resourceful, these cards, all these cards, which I don't know what they do at all, but they're various characters and stuff. They also seem out of order, which is interesting. That could be a factory printing thing. And then we've got trauma. We have a broken thumb. Take 1 injury after each of your search actions. We have bloody eyes. You may only perform 1 search action per turn. Commotion. When you roll an inspection die, roll 1 less die. Broken finger, broken thumb are different. Infection. Take 1 injury after each of your support actions. So these just seem thigh wound. You may only perform 1 move action per turn. So fun little degrees of trauma to add to your character, which I like. I like variable injuries in games. A bunch of games have them, and I generally appreciate the idea that you take an injury, you draw something, and then what happens next, or the way it affects you, in some way changes based on what you draw. I like that concept. We also have these cards, and these cards, so more cards to the game over here that we will go ahead and open up. And again, we haven't even gotten to the expansion yet. The expansion should be fun to go through. The Jewel of the Cult and the Threat Beneath. And I wonder, my main question is, how do the expansions integrate? Now, make no mistake, 3.5 years ago, I may have known how the expansion integrated. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's tricky. Like when I back an all-in, just today I was going over the Mordred campaign for Come On, and going over all the expansions, and I know what all the expansions do. I'm going all in on that game, I'm going to get them all, and I know what every expansion adds to the game, whether or not I want it and why. Sometimes I do. Other times I go all in and I may not do that, and I may not know that. And it's not the best practice. Ideally know what you're buying. I mean, if I'm buying a toaster, you can bet I'm looking up 14 toasters on Amazon, checking all the ratings, looking at the best product. With Kickstarter, I buy in faith a little more than I should. A little more than I should. Okay, we have these cards here, which are area cards. These look like areas. I mean, they look like areas. They say areas on them. But what does that manifest as? So we have an area card here, a Pharaoh's ERG. Okay, erg. I guess it's an erg. We have a dried up oasis. So these look like they're giving you some degree of layout to the board. Abandoned shack, a gore dune, a royal walkway, a sacred antechamber. So you can see that little marker that goes between the areas. We have a north antechamber. So I don't know how to read these that much yet, but in some way they're referencing various enemies. These look like your area cards. They tell you what to put on the board. We also have these trap decks and then encounter decks. So we have a bunch of things over here. Traps, encounters, and free play mode. I'm intrigued by the free play mode. I want to dive into this free play before I play it, fully. We have these over here, which are encounter cards. Don't know how these operate, but the graphic design looks great. We have these cards, which are the free play mode cards. We have a cult whip. If this is your first action, you may reroll your fight dice up to 2 times. So it looks like these are specific things you can unlock through free play, which makes sense. Whenever you have a campaign mode and unlocks, you're going to have to deal with the fact that sometimes you want to give players unlocks as well, or upgrades, or something fun to have when you're doing one-shots. So it makes sense that they have that, but the balance or the way you approach it obviously has to be different. And then we have traps. We have poison darts fly out of the ground. You'll need to move quickly to avoid them, and that's the only one I'll talk about. I won't even say what it does, because honestly, these are probably more fun to encounter a bit more randomly if you're able to do so. That's going to be this little box over here, which means, oh no, we have one more box. I was going to say miniatures, but we have one more box before we get into the miniatures, although I probably will not open these boxes. I'll warn you. Let's take a look over here, and let's see what I'm doing. So, we have the box here, and we have episode 0 as one of these boxes. So just to show you what I'm looking at over here, this is going to be a tray. We have 2 miniatures we'll show you shortly. We have the various walls that go between things. We've covered some of these already. And then we have episodes that are in this box, and I wonder how down these episodes go. So if I open this up, it looks like you go at least that far down. 1 second, let's go open up one more. I can't. I need to do it like this. That is the bottom. So it looks like there are a total of 3 per row times 4. There's 12 of these boxes. As far as what goes on over here, we have episode 1, the first steps towards glory. I am willing to open this box, but I'm not willing to say anything to you. Not yet. So I'm going to open this box. There's stuff in here. I'm going to leave this as is. I want to keep this. I'm not taking things out. I'm going to leave everything as is because I want you to be able to experience this as freely and fresh as possible. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but you know what I mean. I want you to be able to experience this without having to wonder what I've messed up for you or any of that. So you're fine. Just if you have this game, or if you get this game, there's episodes. There's 12 episodes to go through over here. And then does this go in the bottom of the box? No. This goes in the bottom of the box. Okay. So this, by the way, is going to be the first thing that goes back in the box. Then on top of that, inside each of those containers, you're going to put a little tray. So they're kind of going inside these. You're putting, whoops, careful. Inside these, you're putting one of those trays. So let's start showing you some of the various miniatures while we put this off to the side-ish. Yeah, I guess we'll show you the miniatures that way. So, let's show you miniatures over here. We have a few to go through. Let's start with the very basic character miniatures you'll be playing with. And we already showed you one of them, did we? I think we briefly did. We'll show you them again, just so you can have a full look and all that stuff. But over here, we have this character over here. Looks fun. Look at him. He's almost Gaston-like. No one hits like Gaston. No one searches like Gaston. No one gets eaten by a scarab like Gaston. And we have that person over there. We have, Pierce? Robert Pierce? Was that his name? I think Robert Pierce was his name. Dun dun, for the eyes are particularly gloomy. There's a snake staring out of you there. Okay, we got this one over here, and we got this female adventurer over here. But, I mean, they already had one. This is just another one over here. And we're going to put those back in our little character box. I don't know how that one goes. Robert Pierce is giving me odd angles as far as how he goes into his little container. So I'm not liking... Oh, he does go on the side. He goes on the side. Okay. Well, this is done now. We can go ahead and... These I kind of want to save for last, though. So now I'm in a stuck position. This can go on here, I believe. There we go. This can go over there. And let's show you the large box of miniatures before I dive into the other box. Now, as usual with these, I'm not going to show you everything because there's a lot of repeat sculpts, but I'll show you as much as I reasonably can to give you a good sense of the various miniatures you'll have in your game, starting off with the tiny guys, including the scarabs. The scarabs are pretty cute. So there's a fun game I played recently that had adorable little scarabs. Wouldn't be a match for this visually, but they were definitely good scarabs. I can't remember what it's called, though. Now I'm bothered by this. Interesting. Interesting. Just the way... So, let me just show you what I'm talking about over here. I'll show you this over here. So you see that row, and you see on the top row over here how there's a scarab here? It feels like... I mean, that's an extra scarab. Like, there's a scarab here, too. So we have all the scarabs and then a scarab in there. And I feel like either there's a wrong count of scarabs versus whatever these things are, or they just had a hole the wrong size. Quiet you. Anyways, let's go ahead and show you these. These are going to be your little critters in the game. Critters, there we go. Look at these guys. Look at the little cutie guys. They are cute. We're going to dump those back in, and then we'll start showing you some of the guys that are a little bit more present. So now we have a whole row full of these. So we have some unique stuff to go through, but just some basic mummies to show you first. That's going to be your standard mummy character, and that's going to be your standard mummy with a sword who wants to stab you character. I like the sculpt of this one a lot. Very nice sculpt over here. I like the pose. The pose is like flowing, like as if you'll appreciate the grace and beauty before you die. Which is, I mean, honestly, it's still an improvement. We got more over here. So we got more of those people. And I think the rest are semi-unique. Semi-unique. We're going to show you some stuff over here. So this one has a bunch of these. So there are 4 of these characters in the box. So it's another minion type character. Nice, but I still prefer the flowing robes the most. Then we start moving to more unique characters. So we have this ancient Egyptian crocodile who looks like he's about to leap and stab you. Also, he's going to have neck problems when he's a little older. Right now, when you're 20, you can get away with that kind of thing. But if you keep doing that, it's you're gonna pay that bill when you're 40. You're gonna turn one day and you're never gonna turn back. My mother always said, like, you know the thing where kids turn their eyes inside out? Like, you can do that, and then unfortunately, when you do, your eyes will stick that way. That's what I was told, at least. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what I was told. We have these people. These are all unique sculpts that I'm showing you, by the way. Ever since the crocodile person, they're all unique sculpts so far, I think. There's one more. We have some doubles of some characters. I'll show you. I like this one over here. This is, I'll talk about something in a second. Then we have this guy over here. Over here, there we go. And then we have this hippopotamus. Now, I don't know about you, but there's only one thing I can think of when I see the hippopotamus Egyptian goddess over here. And if you're thinking to yourself that that thing is Moon Knight, I really like the hippo from Moon Knight. That's one of my favorite characters in Moon Knight was the hippo. The best thing about Moon Knight was the hippo. Also, if you haven't watched Moon Knight, I don't think I've ruined anything for you. I mean, you know there's a hippo in Moon Knight. I don't know if that's that crazy. But I do apologize if you are bothered by that. I do, because I try to be very respectful of spoilers, and I think that's the most minimal of spoilers, but it still is somewhat there. Anyways, these two, we have 2 of each of these, so slightly larger characters. This scorpion over here, it very much reminds me of the scorpion from Cometh. I don't know if you've played Cometh. This looks like... And then we have this snake over here, which also very much reminds me of the giant snake in Cometh. It's almost like if you start going to giant games full of Egyptian miniatures, there'll be some degree of overlap between the various mythologies that you have to deal with. Interesting, the way the scorpion fits in there, the scorpion kind of fits, but it's kind of at an angle. It does work. I don't mind it. It's just interesting. It doesn't fit down flat. And then the biggest little chunky boy we have over here is this giant mech, this golem over here, which I've seen the golem cards for this already. And this is going to be your biggest, baddest, chunkest boy in the set over here. Cannot wait to defeat him in some way, shape, or form, and then deal with his next further iteration of him. That's going to be, how does this go in here? Let's go like this. That's going to be your miniatures from this game. Which means we're not done yet, because we still have 2 more packs. Oh, I can see what's happening here. I see what's happening here. They kind of overlay on each other. So, we have a few more to look at, or 2 more, before we dive into the expansions. We have this person over here, who is, Anubis? No, I don't know. I don't know the various gods offhand. I mean, it's a Sphinx, right? It's a Sphinx. Is there an actual god correlated with this, or it's just straight up the Sphinx? I think it's just straight up the Sphinx. But maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. Anyways, that's going to be one over there, which gets its own little box. And then lastly, we have the worst evil bad thing. Honestly, the golem's probably more intimidating, but I assume this is more of a final boss type situation. I like it. I like it. Ooh, I like it. You'll see why in a second. You'll see why I just had that reaction. But first of all, so you go ahead and look at the mummy, and it looks very cool. And just go ahead and pause when you get that little laughing moment when you're like, oh, that's what Alex laughed at. Because if you're thinking to yourself, is that an additional baby mummy in its chest cavity? You are dead right. That is an additional baby mummy in its chest cavity. That's why it's got 4 arms. 2 for the adult and 2 for the child. It is better to take you down with. Or to wield 4 lightsabers. I can't not see 4 arms without seeing General Grievous. Grievous is the name? I think his name is Grievous. I know the visual indicator more so than the name. But I think it is Grievous. Anyways, it's amazing how like a single thing in a movie can like blossom into its own entire subgenre almost. Like you have like Grievous in a movie and like suddenly he has like a whole lore and IP built around this one character who, this is not going to go well. I need to take this off over here. I need to put this down like so. It's definitely not going to go well. There we go. If it slides down, it's better. I'll have to organize this all later because things are going to fit into these boxes in different ways. I will organize it later. That's not going to be a now problem. I will say it is more evenly balanced. If you remember me complaining about it not being evenly balanced before, it is evenly balanced now. Although we still have to deal with the fact that these trays are effectively going on top of this. How did these come in here? Like this all fit before, did it? Or is it just on top? I don't remember. but it's going to just go on top right now until I properly organize everything, because it is what it is. I feel like it fit better before. Maybe I just can't figure out how to, I don't know. We'll deal with it. We're going to put this all back, and we're going to put that sleeve is not going to fit on. If it didn't fit before properly, I messed something up. I don't know what it is I messed up, but we're going to put this cover on. Again, we have Punchboards on top. This is all fine, but it still feels like I somehow messed it up. Because, yeah, that sleeve's not going to fit on it. So we will not make that happen. We will not try to make the sleeve fit. Don't push things too hard if they're not designed over there. Which means we have 3 expansions to go over. Also, we have a playmat. Should I show you the playmat? No, let's show you the playmat. I'll show you the playmat over here. I don't know what this playmat's for over here. Does it even fit in the box? Huh. It might fit in. No, it's not going to fit in the box. Not going to fit in the box. I'm sorry for that. Sorry for the brief moment of excitement you got. But here's your playmat, which will in some way, I assume, hold different things like cards. Just like cards and stuff. This is a separate play area. So I like it. The only problem is if it doesn't fit in the box, then I don't like it quite as much. Because then the question is, what do I do with the playmat? Where does it go? Do I pull it out every single time I'm playing the game? I don't have enough space in my collection to manage a whole sub-collection of playmats. There are good playmat storage options out there. There are good things you can do, but I can barely keep track of everything as it is. Like, I'm decently organized, by the way. Let me just see if I can get this to not unroll as I put it off to the side. It wants to unroll. It wants to unroll. So if I put it over here, there we go. Okay. Okay, it's off to the side now. It's fine. And we can look at these expansions. Let's look at the least exciting one first. Thus the Sphinx Cometh expansion. So, let's see what we got over here. You dozed off by the comforting warmth of your campfire, only to wake up faced with the Sphinx in a gloomy place that seems to defy reality. Confront this monstrous apparition and try to free yourself from its grip to get safely out of this nightmare. So it looks like it may be reusing the Sphinx from the base game. Also confirming that it is indeed a Sphinx. There are no miniatures in here, which, by the way, I like the idea of that. Not every expansion needs to have 14 new miniatures. The idea of reusing existing miniature content, one of the things that Monster Hunter World does that pretty nicely from Steamforged Games, is you face the same creatures again and again and again. So you reuse those miniatures. You benefit from them multiple times, as opposed to an entire game and you have a miniature and you see it once. So you can play through the campaign and see a miniature again multiple times, which I do like. That's why I was happy when I saw all the cards having different effects on them, and that's true over here as well. I like that additional variety and content, more trauma, and also some more cards that say trauma. We have our various tiles over here. These are, basic punchboard tiles, nothing crazy to write home about over there. And then we're going to have these cards, which I definitely will open, as well as this little book, which I will probably look through, but probably not say anything because I don't want to ruin things for you. It does say episode 6.5 on that, and that means it might fit in the middle of your adventure somewhere. I'm going to look at this and not say anything. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read it. Setup. That's setup stuff. Okay, fine. I'll read the game stuff and not mess with that. We have these cards over here, which are Sphinx cards in some way, and evasion cards, which I don't know what they are at all, and nightmare cards, which seem like they're nightmares, and then a whole bunch of text on these cards in different ways. We have shin guards. I want the shin guards. I'm not going to ruin things for you more. I don't want to ruin things for you, or possibly for me, so I'm just kind of scrolling through them. I'm intrigued by the expansion. I will definitely be playing with some of this stuff over here. We're going to put that to the side. Then we have the Jewel Cult, which seems like it has less cool miniatures than the Threat Beneath. So I'm going to read the Jewel Cult first, because I want to save that giant thingy miniature. In fact, do I have one up there? Yeah, I do. Let's go ahead and grab this over here. So up here, I have a miniature. This is coming to you from Chronicles of Junagar, and it kind of gives me the same vibes as this guy over here. Like, you see this guy over here? Like, very similar vibes. I'm going to show you the miniatures when they come out, obviously. But, like, look at this guy. He could, if I showed you this thing and said it's from the same game, you'd believe me, right? It's from the same game. It's actually from the same game. I actually have 2 copies as I opened this earlier, you see. It's not from the same game. I'm lying to you. But anyways, let's go and open up the Arkeis, the Jewel Cult. This is... Some mysterious link ties Mima to the cult haunting the desert. This expansion for the game Arkeis contains an exclusive adventure, and Mima, a new playable character. So more content and a playable character, which means if you want that character, jump into this expansion right away to see the fun little box it adds for the character, the new cards it adds for Mima. We got more new cards from Mima. So basically just more content, new characters, and an expansion to play through over here. A certificate of ability. So we have all their abilities. These are those earlier ability cards I was looking for. Sure enough, they were shuffled up between them. I don't think there's anything underneath there. Nope, there's nothing underneath there. And then over here, let's open up these cards and see what we got as far as this goes. Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. We got our cards over here, events and more stuff and cards. Let's look at the backs of these. We got these over here, which are Mima's cards, I guess. We have over here some Mima cards and some more Mima cards. So lots of character stuff for this, which may or may not go into the exclusive tuck box. Then we have a character board, and we have an adventure, the Jewel Cult. I'm excited to play this game. I want to dive into free play. What's my weekend look like? Okay, my weekend right now, I've already played that and that. These are important because in general, I have to engage with games very differently than you do because I have responsibilities. You have responsibilities too, just probably not within games. But just to give you an idea of what's on my radar, this past week I had to play Galaxy Postman to prep for covering that game. I had to play Farms Race to prep for covering that game. I had to play... I don't remember what else I played on my shelf over here. I played Race to the Raft a lot to cover that game. But then there's a few more games I still have to cover. So I have to play Cretaceous Rails and Joyride. I've played Joyride before, but I need to play it again because I like to cover games. I like to play games more than once. I have 5 Words, which I've played, and need to play that again for coverage. Caesar's Empire is more of a kind of I want to play, not I have to play. I bought that one myself, and so it's no responsibility attached to it. Just, you know, I want to cover it. I think those are the main things currently on my radar, and then I feel there's one more. Why do I feel like I'm missing one? Oh, I mean, I have a bunch of games I'm going to be playing tonight. Not tonight, tomorrow night. You keep in mind, tomorrow night for you is my past. Like, when I say tomorrow night, I mean, like, anywhere from 3 days ago to, like, a week and a half ago to sometimes even, like, I don't know. Sometimes the videos I do come out a long time after the initial video. It depends on the video. Unboxings usually, I'd say, are anywhere from a day to, like, 2 or 3 weeks. Usually unboxings I try to keep time sensitive because it just showed up. People are excited. Let's go ahead and show you it now. Reviews should follow the same logic, but reviews anyways, I want multiple plays in. And so if it's for crowdfunding, I'll usually try to get those, if it's like crowdfunding sensitive, or if it's a really hot game, I'll try to get those reviews in faster to be able to put out coverage. Those multiple plays in faster to be able to put out a review. But sometimes I just play a game a few times and then I don't play it for another 3 months and then I play it again. And by the time I get multiple plays in, it might be 7 months down the road. And then at that point, I'll film the gameplay, I'll film the review, and then I might still not put the review up for like another 2 or 3 months, depending on what the situation. Like, I think I wonder what the longest gap is between when I filmed something versus when it went up. I can tell you, there's a specific review that I filmed last year, right after Gen Con. And this video, you're probably seeing after Gen Con this year. I'm filming this right before Gen Con. So, yeah, it happens. It happens. Sometimes it happens, like a year ago. Wow. Yikes. This is where you have to be very mindful of like things like gaining weight. If you want an obvious way to tell if someone's gaining weight, check out a video of them today, and then a year later, like 17 pounds higher, you'll like see that face fat difference. I mean, honestly, week to week, sometimes my face looks thinner or not. Anyways, oh, that's sad. I'm sorry. That's sad. You'll see what's sad. So we have an adventure over here. That's fine. We have our cards over here. We have a little handed little postcard thing, which I don't know what that is, but it looks cool. We have some Punchboard stuff, which is just some tokens over here. We're going to take this off, because once we're doing this like all the way, we're going to go ahead and unshrink various things over here. We have our sandworm, which is sad, and you'll see why it's sad in a second. I feel bad. This is not meant to make people or things, anyone feel bad, but you'll see why in a second. So, okay. We have our giant deck of cards over here for the Threat Beneath, the Phase 1, some sort of expansion. I'm not going to go through the cards. I don't know well enough to be able to dive into it. And then we have our giant sandworm over here, and we have this guy over here, who does look cool. He does. He just looks smaller. You see, now, right about now, if I show you this miniature, let's go ahead and show you the miniature. That's this guy here. And I show you this miniature over here. The problem is, with this in the background for context, this miniature definitely looks like he's more impressively dangerous than that miniature. I win. There is a risk when you do stuff like that you'll break the miniature. There is, but I'll often go with that risk because the comedic effect is often worth it. Like, Tom Vassell used to get a lot of flack for his unboxing, for his component drop. And, like, there's a fun aspect to, like, sometimes just living life on the edge. And one time I'll break a miniature. And that one time will be for Mythic Mischief and destroying all the prototype miniatures. More than one time I'll break a miniature if it's prototypes. Prototypes I do not treat with enough care. I don't treat a lot of things with enough care. I'm here to have fun. I'm here to enjoy myself. The hobby in general. And I'm going to go have more coffee and figure out whether I can fit this into my weekend schedule. I might read the rulebook. I don't know if I have time to play this. There's so many things. There's so many things. I'm always like, sometimes I'm ahead on some things and behind on others. It's the way it is. Sometimes I'll have coverage within the first few days because I will knock out the review, the gameplays. I'll get things done and then I'll have coverage for you fast. Other times I'll have coverage, months after everyone else. It just depends. It's a weird balance. You want to be first as much as possible, but you also want integrity to the content itself. And so if you're first at the cost of the integrity of the content, that's not helping anyone. Well, I guess short term might help you. Long term will probably come back to bite you. So there's always a balance. There's always a balance. It is what it is. I'm gonna go head off and do more things today because there's lots more things to do today. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Thanks for being here, and until next time, I hope you have a good one.